Hey guys, so with the recent GGG livestream that happened yesterday, I know a lot of people are extremely excited for the patch that's going to be coming next week. And specifically, a lot of people are very interested in the specific Keystone Passive Hollow Palm technique. And as for me, I am also very excited for this Keystone Passive and will definitely be league starting a Chayula Monk using this when the new season arrives. So please come hang out with me then, twitch.tv/MisoXshuru, if you want to see gameplay for this class. I'm going to be going over today everything that you need to know about the Hollow Palm technique, at least as much as we know right now, and as much as I've researched/theory crafted about it. So let's dive in. So looking at the Keystone Passive itself, it states that you can attack as though using a quarterstaff while both of your hand slots are empty. So that means that while you can attack as though you have a quarterstaff, you do need both your hand slots to be unarmed, which means that you're going to be missing out on all of the stats that you're going to be getting from the weapon. So the regular flat attack damage, you're going to miss out on like crit chance, attack speed, stats, leech, all that stuff. You're not going to be able to have that. And your unarmed attacks that would use the quarterstaff normally, because there are requirements for the skill gems for quarterstaff, would gain damage based off of one. So it would give you physical damage based off of their skill level. So what you can think about this as is basically, instead of having a weapon, your skill level is your weapon. And the higher the level of the skill, the higher the amount of damage that you're going to be using. So let's say you're using Ice Strike and you have it at level 15. Well, the level 15 one is going to give you a certain amount of physical damage, and then you get a level 16 one, it's going to do more physical damage. 17 is going to be more, 18 is more, 19 is more, etc., etc., etc. You can consider your skill gem as your weapon, basically. And because of the fact that you don't actually need to get a weapon for this build, I actually think this could be one of the more viable, if not one of the better league starters for this upcoming season, because of the fact that it's pretty hard to get a good weapon as you're upgrading in the campaign. You'll probably get like 2 or 3 weapons that you can really call like excellent throughout the campaign, or maybe even one. But if you don't actually need a weapon, that means you don't need to care about that at all, and it'll be upgrading itself incrementally as you level up through the campaign. And in addition to that, they're also going to be giving you 2 stats. So attack speed and critical hit chance based off of your evasion rating and energy shield on your equipped armor items. So it's not going to be based off of this number itself, like your total energy shield or the tooltip evasion rating that you're going to have on your character, but specifically it's going to be based off of the energy shield and evasion rating on your equipped items. Now, the one thing I'm not entirely sure about is whether or not this is going to be the base number or the post-modified number. Like, is it going to be this 507 number, or is it like the base white item value? I'm not entirely sure about that, but given the history of Path of Exile, I don't think I've ever seen a situation where things only scale off of the base number. So I'm going to assume that in this case, it's going to be the modified values. So with that, this actually seems like a pretty dang powerful node that is going to be giving you a lot of mileage with potentially not that much investment. Now, let me show you guys what I mean by that, right? So I'm going to go and take what I have on my monk and show you some of the values that I'm going to be getting. So here is an Excel spreadsheet, right? I put all the numbers onto here, and in total, my equipment is giving me 1,366 evasion and 1,197 energy shield. So with this, you can see that we are going to be getting a 54.64% more attack speed multiplier to our attacks, and also a 16.97% base critical chance. Now, how these calculations work is, of course, we have the image right here. So 1% more attack speed per 25 evasion rating, right? That goes into here. And then for the critical hit chance, and then this is not increased critical hit chance, but this is base critical hit chance, you get 0.1% per every 10 item energy shield. So we get this number by taking this calculation, which ended up being like somewhere around like 11.97%. And then you add it to the base critical hit chance of unarmed attacks. Now, this used to be 0%, but in the update, they actually went and updated. So unarmed attacks have a base crit chance of 5%. So you'll take the 5% and add it to the 11.97, and you get 16.9% critical hit chance, which is actually insane if you think about it. Taking a look at the quarterstaff that I have in game right now on my monk, I only have a 14.27%, and it's not a terribly rolled crit chance on the quarterstaff. And this has a lower number than my unarmed attack with the hollow palm technique. And for the attacks per second, you can see that this gives me a 1.4 base attack per second. But I went and plugged the numbers into POE, and you can see if I'm using Ice Strike, I get a base attack rate of 3.12 seconds off of my monk tree. This is just my build off of, I just put my Flicker Strike build onto POE, and I just put it in there. It's going to be a little bit lower if you don't have any increased attack speed, but I barely have any. I have like 2 on this one. So it's actually quite insane, the numbers that you're going to be getting for this build. And it doesn't seem like they're going to require that much investment either, because you don't need to have a weapon, which oftentimes is going to be your most expensive item on your character. But having said that, there are a couple of caveats, right? The first one is that the physical damage that you get is unknown at the moment. While the weapons, we know exactly how much physical damage we can get from these, the skill gems themselves, the skill levels, we actually have no clue how much they're going to give. So if the number is pretty low, it could mean that we're just doing ZDPS the entire time. So we'll kind of have to see how that number comes out to be to really be able to gauge and determine how much damage that we're going to be getting with this. The other thing to note is that with this, it mentions that you are using a using skills as though you are using a quarterstaff, but again, it's important to know that you are not using a quarterstaff. So with this, these nodes over here are basically completely useless. You cannot use these, even though these nodes are actually like insane nodes. So that is another negative that you're going to have to deal with when using the hollow palm technique. But to be honest, if we get enough physical damage from the skill itself, the skill levels, you could potentially see these numbers going really, really high. And with that, you can also potentially scale your skill levels to super high levels. Yes, unfortunately, not having a weapon means you are missing that +7 on skills. But again, there are other ways to scale your quarterstaff and melee skill damage outside of that. So you could potentially see some insane gem leveling and getting some insane damage numbers. Now, GGG also showed off a new unique item called the Thunderfist. Now, this is an item that is going to directly synergize with the unarmed playstyle. So what this does is it gives a skill called Crackling Palm, which they did showcase in the live, that does like a lightning strike whenever you hit an enemy with an unarmed attack. So this is probably going to be one of the gloves that you're going to want to use with this. Now, originally, I was extremely excited about these gloves and I was super excited to get one of these in my hands and use it for my build. But something that I noticed is that this says a level 18 Crackling Palm. Now, as we noted before, the physical damage that you get for the hollow palm technique is based off of the level of the skill. So that means if you want to get a max damage Thunderfist, you will definitely have to go for the level 20 Crackling Palm, which might be pretty dang expensive given how many people are probably going to be using this build. But besides that, it gives the following, right? 48% increased energy shield evasion, again, synergizes with the Keystone passive, 4% attack speed, lightning resistance, flat lightning damage to unarmed melee attacks, which is great, and the increase to base critical hit chance for unarmed attacks as well. So this does give quite a few stats that you are looking for on your gloves, but at the same time, I feel like you're going to be missing out on a couple things that I think are going to be very important for this playstyle, which I will go over in the Ascendancies. So when we're talking about Ascendancies, I think there are a couple Ascendancies that are probably going to be really good for this build. Starting with the Monk classes, I think these are going to be pretty good starters for the Hollow Palm technique. One thing to note is that the Hollow Palm technique is a Keystone passive, which means it's going to be somewhere on the tree. My guess is that it's going to be pretty close to the monk side of the tree. So if you want to start with a character that gets hollow palm technique early, you're probably going to want to play the monk class. That way it's going to be as close to the tree as possible that has the keystone, and you get there as early as possible. With that, I think Acolyte of Chayula might be one of the best ones to use for this because of one, the fact that it just got buffed and is really good, but also another thing is that I think and I predict that Leech, Energy Shield Leech, is going to be something that's very, very valuable for this build. Because if you're using a hybrid evasion energy shield build, you're going to want to be able to leech energy shield. Now, last season, Eternal Youth was pretty dang strong for energy shield builds, and you pretty much didn't need much energy shield leech or anything like that to be able to sustain your energy shield as a character that got hit a lot, because you could just use your life flask to recover energy shield. But unfortunately, this next upcoming season, this is completely gutted, and you're not going to be able to recover energy shield with life flask anymore. Which, in my opinion, means that any character that's going to be getting hit quite a bit and is using energy shield is going to have to find an alternative way to recover energy shield outside of the natural recovery that you get just by using energy shield. And that is going to be coming in the form of leech. And Chayula is able to leech energy shield with its Ascendancy natively. So if we look at the passive skill tree for Acolyte of Chayula, you will see that you have this right here, Consuming Questions. This allows your mana leech to also recover energy shield, which means that if you are using a chaos build, because Chayula in the upcoming season will be able to leech anything off of chaos damage, that means that you are going to be using this and leeching energy shield along with your mana as well. So that is going to be a very, very strong way for you to sustain your character that most other characters just aren't going to be getting. And in addition to using chaos damage, you could also just go elemental damage and use Walker of the Wilds, which is going to be a new Keystone passive that allows you to leech mana based on elemental damage. So you're going to be using an elemental hit like Ice Strike or something. And then again, you can combine it with the passive right here, Consuming Question, to allow you to leech mana and energy shield. Now, I know that last season, this was a little bit jank, but you can make it work, and it's better than not having any leech at all for mana for your energy shield, because unfortunately, you're just not really going to have many opportunities to recover energy shield in 0.3 without some other source. So that's some of the reasons why I think that Acolyte of Chayula might be the best starter and the best class for this, because you're going to be up and personal quite a bit, given that you're unarmed. Basically, you're going to be kissing all the enemies in the face, and you're going to get hurt a lot. So you're going to need a good way to sustain the damage that you're taking. Now, I also thought like maybe Original Sin could be something that we can use with this. That way you can go convert all your elemental damage into chaos and just do a chaos build with Acolyte, which again seems pretty dang strong for this upcoming season. And then you can also combine it with the Series Acuity Gloves, which lets you leech from critical hits instantly. This is why I was saying earlier the Thunder Gloves aren't the potentially the best to use. Like, while it might be cool, I think there's just so much competition in the glove slot in general for this build. Now, next up, Invoker, I think is also pretty good, but I think that leech and survivability could be an issue just for the same reasons. Unfortunately, Invoker doesn't have a good way of leeching energy shield, so this could be a potential issue going forward for this character. But other than that, Invoker, as we know, is a very, very powerful Ascendancy. And when it comes to elemental damage with like elemental expression and things like that, you're going to be doing a lot of damage just off of that. So potentially in terms of like damage, this could be a really, really good option for elemental damage. And again, as a monk, you're going to be able to start with the hollow palm technique very early on compared to some of the other classes that are going to have to do like a mid-game transition. And speaking of that, Amazon is the one that I think is probably one of the best for it because, again, with survivability, they do have this node right here that says that they can, oh, that's Pathfinder right here. You can leech life based off your elemental damage as well as physical damage. Then you can combine that with the Essentia Sanguis Gloves, which converts your life leech to energy shield, which then will allow you to sustain your energy shield via your elemental damage, which again, I think is going to be a big issue with this patch. So I think that that is another reason why those gloves are probably not going to use all that much, unless you're going for maybe like a life build, right? Then in that case, that could be possible. But as we all know, life builds in this game are not that great. So maybe they'll add something later down the line, or people will figure out how to recover energy shield better for melee classes. But as it stands, I feel like this is probably the best way to sustain your character and survivability in the game right now. Now, other than that, I do think Ritualist could be pretty decent. Ritualist is just kind of a universal class, just really good at anything because of the ability to use an extra ring and have extra effectiveness of those rings. So you can just kind of slot Ritualist in anything. And again, it is going to be close enough to the monk tree to get into the hollow palm technique relatively early. And then Gemling could be interesting as well. Unfortunately, it is a little bit further away from hollow palm technique, at least I would assume, but the thing that it gives is plus levels to gems. As we mentioned earlier, plus levels to skills means that you're going to be doing more physical damage off of just like the base scaling, right? So having that is going to be valuable by itself. So that's why I can see Gemling as another potential contender for the good classes for this ability. Now, the warrior classes I actually think could be pretty good, but unfortunately, I would say that they're a little bit too far if we're talking about going to the monk side of the tree. It's literally on the opposite side. So while I would like to make a warrior build work, I think it's probably going to be a little bit of a stretch to make into an efficient build. So that's about it for this video. If you guys think I missed anything or there's information that you think that I don't know about that could be really interesting, let me know down in the comment section below because I'd love to work with all of you guys to make the best Hollow Palm Monk build as possible for this league. I'm super excited about it. And as per usual, if you enjoyed the video, please remember the sub button is the best way to support the channel and let me know that you enjoyed this type of content. I also stream every single night, twitch.tv/Shiro. And again, I will be starting with the Chayula Hollow Palm Monk. So if you guys want to see that, I will be streaming on my Twitch channel from the league start. But that's about it, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all on the next one. All right, guys. Peace.